Welcome to today's session of modeling of counters using Verilog SDL. The learning objectives for today's class is we will discuss about a brief about counters, why we use, what are the requirement of counters, followed by how counters are different from timers. Okay. Either by construction point of view or functionality point of view, that we will discuss. Then we will try to model different counters like up counter, counter with load, up down counter, divided by 2 counter, and finally one generic frequency divider which can be used to divide the input frequency to some certain frequency. That we will discuss all these things in today's class. So, counters, as you know, these are used to store and display the number of times a particular event occurred. So, there may be a chance that there is a sensor in an industry and it is connected to a conveyor belt, in front of a conveyor belt, and on that belt many items are passing, like some bags or any industry related things are passing. So, sometimes we need to know that how many bags are passed for unit time. Okay. So, in that case mostly we require a counter so that we can able to count, and in other applications like if this is a room, how many persons are sitting here. So, we can design a counter and we can place at the entrance of the door. So, whenever anybody is coming in, then it will up count, and if somebody is going out, it will down count. Okay. So, accordingly the entire number of persons in a room can be counted. Okay. So, as you know, this is a basic digital electronics design we used to read in digital electronics. Counters are consists of flip flops in cascade form. So, mostly we use T flip flop for designing counters, and each counter will have certain inputs, like it will have a clock, it will have certain input control signals to enable counting or to load values. Okay. And we will have certain output lines. So, output lines mostly refers to the number of counting it is doing. Okay. So, the output represents number of counts which can be defined in terms of binary or BCD number system. Okay. So, depending upon the clock, so in each active edge of your clock pulse, it will start counting the number of input sequence. Okay. So, in input sequence you may apply any event which is happening, you may apply a clock also. So, how many number of clocks are becoming 1 0 and 1 0 correspondingly, that can also be counted. So, counters are widely used in digital circuits. So, in order to maintain the counting of sequences, or also to maintaining timing interval between two different sequences, also counters are used. But in such cases counters are called as timers. Okay. So, counters can be used for counting timing intervals between two events, but in that mode counters are called as timers. So, they will basically calculate the timing interval in terms of seconds, in maybe nano or milli or seconds. Okay. But when it is coming counter, it is just counting the number of counts in terms of number count 1 2 3 like that. Okay. So, mostly counters are used widely in digital circuits. So, earlier you might have seen there are different counters or timer ICs separately people used to fabricate. Okay. And sometimes it can also be incorporated as part of the entire integrated circuit. So, nowadays as VLSI design emerged, and we can able to merge lots of transistor in a single place or single IC. So, we can able to merge the entire counter inside a direct one in single IC. Okay. So, now to know the basic difference between your counters and timers. So, this is a block diagram I have referred from one book called Embedded System Design by Frank White. Okay. So, in that the left side refers to as basic timer, and right side is a generalized circuit which can be act as a timer as well as a counter. Okay, just try to differentiate these two as far as constructional architectural point of view, difference point of view, but as far as functionality is concerned, counter will count only the number of count sequences, it does not have any unit. Okay, but timer will count the entire time interval which has certain unit in terms of second, nanosecond or millisecond. Okay. So, if you will see the timer internally uses a counter to find out the different time intervals between two events. Okay. So, it is a basic timer circuit. We can say that it has a one input. I told it will have different number of inputs, control signals and outputs. So, here if you will see clock and recess are inputs, where I can say like clock is a input signal on which it will start counting up, and we have used a 8-bit up counter. So, it will start counting from 0000 to means 8 number of zeros to 8 number of 1. Okay, means understood my point. So, 8-bit 0000 to 8 numbers of not 1, it is F. Okay. So, so depending upon your requirement, the counter can also have certain width. It may count 4-bit, 8-bit. So, if it is 4-bit, then it will count from 0000 to 1, 2, 3 like this up to FFF. Okay. So, similarly, if 8-bit, then you can increase itself. So, the bit width will give you a large number of range of data width, so that it can count up. Okay. So, here the counting sequences as it is the number of bit is 8-bit output. So, we have written here 8-bit counter. Okay. So, when you are finding out you are using as it as a timer. So, we know that clock will have certain input frequency. Okay. So, if each clock has a let us say 10 nanosecond of frequency, then for each counting up it will take 10 nanosecond. So, if it is counting from 0 to 1, it will take 10 nanosecond, if from 1 to 2, then another 10 nanosecond. So, how many number of counts are there, we can just multiply and find out the total number of time period elapsed for that number of corresponding counting. Okay. So, in that case what will happen, this up counting will help us to monitor the timing between the two events. Okay. So, here additionally you can see there is a flag we have taken like TF, which is a single bit flag. So, mostly what happens, if it is a 8-bit counter, it will start counting from 0 up to the 8 number of bits, to the 8 minus 1 bits. After that, when it has to reset to again 0 automatically. So, no need to give any instruction to reset it 0. So, counters are designed in such a way that it will start from the 0 and it will reach the final value, again it will reset back to 0 automatically. Okay. So, at that time this TF will become 1 or high, to indicate that one set of counting sequences has been over. So, we can tell it as a timer flag, you can say. So, if flag is high means one set of counting sequences is over. Okay. So, internally by using the number of counter, taking the counter and mapping it to the number input time period, then we can able to use the same counter as a for timing application. Understood? Okay. So, similarly, if you will see in right side the timer, now what we have done is I have taken the same 8-bit up counter, these all are same, reset is there to make the output as either 0, you can, if it is active high reset, then you can make it also to 0, to reset it to 0. Okay. So, instead of that what we can do is, in the input, instead of putting directly clock, what we have done, we have taken a 2:1 mux. Okay. And then one of the input is clock, another input is the count underscore in, that is number of events. Here count underscore in indicates the number of events. Understood? So, now I can take a controlling signal or select line of 2:1 is 1 bit. So, that can be connected to mode. So, that means if my mode is 0, the clock will be connected to here. Understood? So, it will act as a timer. Okay. So, that means now clock is input to the timer. Okay. So, depending upon the each count sequences, we can find out the time interval between two events. Okay. So, when mode is equal to 1, that if it is 0 and if it is 1, then in that case what will happen? So, this will go here. Okay. So, number of events happening here, you can say it can be also a pulse. So, if I am trying to count a number of event, that means I am trying to count the number of pulse where it when it is high. Okay. So, that can be fed to here, and each input clock pulse, what it will do is, it will try to count it up 0, 1, 2, 3. So, in one case it will give you the result as in time interval or in terms of nanosecond, let us say. In other case it will give you the count. Okay, understood? So, this is the basic difference between timer and counter. So, that means the same counter can be act as a timer with a certain amount of modification at the input side. Okay. So, another, the summary is that the timer always takes input as a clock frequency. Even though entire circuit is sequential design, all will work depending upon the clock only, but the timer input is always a clock frequency. So, that if clock is there, then it will accordingly it will find out the corresponding time intervals. Okay. Whereas counter input is either it may be a clock frequency to count the number of pulses, or it may be any number of events. Okay. So, that only event count will be resulted as the output of your counter. So, that is the you can say basic similarity dissimilarities between your counters versus your timers. So, this is a theoretical slide where I have taken this some figures from Wiki and ST site. So, it is to show that long day back when counters are there, and today's also in market counters are there, they are equally importance. The day when this left side is actually a counter used for table addition for IBM, and this is a generic mechanical counter. I have taken this figure from Wikipedia, and this right side shows a figure where it is a ARM Cortex, you can say ARM Cortex M4. Whatever mobile we are using now, ARM Cortex A series. So, it is a M series generally mostly used for academic purpose, or you can build any high end IoT based applications with it. Okay. So, here you will find a SysTalk timer, here it is written. Okay. So, timer can be acted as a counter. So, it finds more or less always very finds important application in all the places, starting from the beginning of electronics to till today. Okay. So, counters are classified into three parts is given in the wiki, like one is electronics counter which we generally knows, like ripple counter, asynchronous, synchronous, decade counter, up down counter, ring counter, or you can have cascaded counter to increase the more interval of time counting. You can have computer based counters, like if in website you might have seen that when number of persons are entering to that site, it is showing that number of visitors is some count. So, that is used in software level, they are using to design a computer based counter to monitor the visitors of the website. Earlier days when these were not there, they were using mechanical counters. Okay. So, where you have to use gear, shafts, all these mechanical terminology to create counters. So, you might have seen somewhere like by using gear shafts also they used to build big clocks to show the time. Okay. Due to reduction in size and development in electronics, nowadays these electronics counters or computer based counters are mostly adopted. Okay. So, this is a simple mechanical counter which are hardly used nowadays, but earlier they started using this thing. So, now any microprocessor you see, this is to say that if it is a maybe ARM Cortex microprocessor or any microprocessor you see, it will have certain peripherals inside it. So, somewhere here you can see it is power supply based peripheral, these are USB UART and CAN controller peripheral, and here you can find ADC DAC based peripheral, here floating point unit, arithmetic or debug units are there, and apart from this you may find here SysTalk timer is written, and below you can find 2 32-bit timers, 12 16-bit timers. So, timers plays a very important role in microprocessor design also, means it is always a on chip peripheral of any microprocessor. Okay. Because microprocessor has to also maintain the timing, how to maintain the timing between two interval of events or to execution of two instructions. So, timer plays timer or counter plays a very important role in today's modern microprocessor design also. Okay. So, now coming to we will just discuss different examples. So, first example here is 4-bit up counter. To make the things easier, we have taken bit width has less. So, it is a 4 bit up counter basically. So, it has to be 0 cross 3. Okay. So, up counter is the module name, followed by C out is my output, enable is the input for starting of the counting sequences, clock is our clock, means we can is a positive edge triggered clock we are using for starting of the counting. Then reset is active high reset we have used, but the entire design whatever I am showing today is a synchronous design. Okay, so, that means all the reset will act if clock is there or clock is triggered. Okay. So, as the name indicates, we have taken C out as output 4 bit and enable reset clock caller in 1 bit of input. Then C out again we have to take register of 4 bit, because we have to assign certain values to this inside an always block. Okay. So, as you can see here, it is a pauses of clock, then if reset then begin. So, that indicates that if clock is there and reset is high, my output is equal to 0. So, simple design we have done in lab. Okay. And in other case, if reset is low, then depending upon the control signal, let us say enable. So, enable here we are taking it as a you can say enabling of the counter. That means, if enable is high, then only counting sequences will start, that is up counting sequences will be starting. Okay. So, if enable is high, then only we can map like C out plus 1 is equal to C out. So, here where we have tried to take a take non blocking statement less than equal. Okay. So, if you will see, so if enable is high, in each case enable is high, then only it will start counting up sequences. Okay. So, here in simulation result you can see that clocks are I have taken around I think 10 nanosecond or 20 nanosecond of period of clock. Okay. So, initially in order to, as here we are not initializing the output to any value, like C out is the 4 bit output, we are not initialized to any value. So, what we have done, initially we have make reset as high in the test bench. So, that output will be initialized to 0, and from there it can start counting up, provided enable should be high. So, now you can see when reset is 0, at the same time I am making enable high, and here also we can find clock is triggering, positive edge trigger. So, from that sequence 0 is becoming 1, and each clock sequence if you will see, it is starting, it starts counting up to your 4 bit, that is up to 15, 0 to 15, total 16 number of sequences. Okay. So, once it is done, again you remember that it will always roll over to 0 automatically. So, that means if 111, if you are adding with 1 last bit, then it will by default it will become like this, where as my C out is 4 bit. So, this 4 bit will be retained and this carry will be discarded. Okay. So, no need to write here, many times people used to write down that if output is f, then you equal to make C out is equal to 0. So, those things no need to write. By default, if last bit will be added with 1, the output will become 0 and carries will be discarded. Okay. So, you can see the same thing here, once 15 is done, by default it is becoming 0. So, this is about a 4 bit up counter. So, you can take 4 bit, 8 bit, 16 bit, whatever you required for your application, you can take it. So, higher number of bits will give you more bandwidth for counting, or you can say finding out the time between two intervals. Okay. Then another bit, you can say different questions like 4 bit counter with load inputs. Okay. So, here you can see that my C out is 4 bit, clock enables are same, reset are also same, we have used same active high reset, synchronous reset. Okay. But at the same time we are taking additionally one load which is called, you can say enable, load enable you can say. So, if this load is high, at the same time whatever data is there at data 4 is to 3 is to 0. So, that data will be loaded to some internal signal. Okay. So, loadable counters are like this, like you should have a input of single bit like load, if that is high. So, if let us say I have taken active high load, so you can take active low load also. But if you that in active high load case, if the load is high, that means the data will be loaded to the internal signals or registers, and when this load is 0, then depending upon the control signal for counting up sequences like enable, it will start counting up. So, just see enable used for enable counting, load is used for load enable, and data here is used for parallel data for loading to the counters. So, parallel data means 4-bit data directly. Okay. So, C out is again 4-bit, data is input which is same 4-bit we can take, load enable clock reset all are single bit input, and C out is our final register or register type declaration of C out of 4-bit. Okay. So, if you will see always at the rate of pauses of clock, if reset is high, then C out is becoming 0, again we have used non blocking method. Okay. So, now we can see if reset is high, my output is 0, and when load is high, the data will be loaded in the C out. Okay. And again else if written means if load is 0, that means in this case my load is 0 and enable should be high, so that it will start counting up, C out is equal to or less than equal to C out plus 1. Okay. So, if you see here, so clock again we have taken 20 nanosecond period of clock. So, if reset is high up to this, so obviously my output will be 0, means you can say like if reset is high, then here up to this my output is equal to 0. Okay. Then what we have done is I have loaded a value of 5 at data input. So, that is you can say 1 0 a 0 1 0 1 5. Okay. Then after that the same time I have make load as also 1. Okay. So, when I made load is equal to 1, at that time my clock pulse is at 0, means clock is not positive edge trigger. So, when clock is becoming positive edge trigger, at the same time the data is already loaded, and depending upon the enable signal it will start counting up. So, you can see just the value loaded is first initially see the value is loaded at 5. So, in this case the value is loaded at 5 up to this one clock pulse, then after that as 5 is loaded, in the next clock pulse from there it starts counting up as it is a up counter. So, 5 6 7 it will go. So, as it is a you can say counter loaded with a value. So, that means I do not want a entire counting sequence from 0 to 5. So, I want only a counting sequences from 5 to 15. Okay. So, that is why if I started from 5 it will go up to 15, but again after 15 it has a inertia that it will go back to 0 only, it will not come directly to 5 by itself. Okay. So, you can see here it is again going to 0. Okay. So, if deliberately you want that it has to go back again to 5, then what to do? Here you have to make the load again high. Okay. So, as my load is 0 here, so it is not loading the that value whatever is given like 5. Okay. So, if you deliberately wants that after 15 again it has to be loaded with 5, or let us say after 15 and 0 then again it has to loaded with 5, then counting the number of clock pulses at the same interval you have to make again the load as a 1 here. Okay. So, that after 0 from here again it will start from 5 up to 15. Understood? So, this is called as loadable counter. Only thing to remember that if load is high it will load, and other counting sequences will start when load is 0. So, if you will maintain load always high it will never count up. Obviously, the up counting will be depends upon the enable signal, but for enabling the counting up always load should be 0. This is another. The next is again a simple example of 4-bit up down counter. So, in this case instead of enable we have taken one input signal control signal called up down. So, assuming that if up down is high then it will do count up, and if up down is low it will do count down. Okay. So, the same thing up down counter, C out is 4-bit output, up down clock reset all are 1-bit input. Again C out we have taken as it has to be 4. So, we have it has to be 3. So, again C out has to be 4-bit, register we declared, as we have to define it with certain value inside a always block. Again we have taken a synchronous reset design, okay, behavioral modeling. So, inside positive edge of your clock, if reset is high, my C out is 0. So, here I have written is 3 bit. So, as it is 4 bit, you can make it 4. So, as you are declaring 0, by default it will take 0 whatever base is there, but by it should be 4. Okay. So, when reset is 0 and up down counter is 1, then it will start counting up. If it is false, that is 0, it will start counting down. So, in test bench, if you will see, initially I have made the reset as high, so that the C out will be initialized to 0. So, it is a good practice that mostly initial always is synthesizable. Initial is being ignored by many of the synthesis tool. It is not that the case that initial will always be synthesizable. Okay. Many synthesis tool, depending upon the different tools are different synthesis tools. Okay. Depending upon the tools, initialization, initial keyword is ignored. Okay. So, if you want that, I will write down here initial reset equal to 0 or 1, that may not reflect in the output in each tool. It may work in one tool, in other tool it may not work. Okay. So, that is why it is a good practice that in test bench initially you may, as you have given my reset is high with clock, then output is 0. So, you always give in reset high in the test bench. So, if clock is positive edge trigger like here and reset is high, my output is 0. So, in this way also your C out will be initialized, you will never get a Z state in the output with red marks output. Okay. So, after that, so as up down is high continuously, so it start counting up 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and at the moment it goes low and clock is active, then it will start counting down. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, again 0, if you will further count down, it will be 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. Okay. So, wherever you want up sequences or down sequences, then accordingly you have to set the input up down to 0 or 1 respectively. Then the next was is a divided by 2 counter. So, here what we have done is we have the module name is clock divider by 2. So, if clock is given, let us say I have a clock of 100 megahertz, okay, and I want that my clock in the output should be by 2, that means 15 megahertz, 50 megahertz. So, it is somehow by using counter, you might have remembered the counter can be used also for frequency divider. Okay. So, here rest of the control signals all are same like enable and reset we have taken. So, what we can do is we will take input same clock, reset and enable, and we have taken output as clock underscore 2, aiming that it will give you divided by 2 output, like CLK underscore 2 is equal to CLK by 2. So, that will be created. Okay. So, we have taken again range for CLK underscore 2. So, what we have done is always at the rate of positive edge of clock, if reset is high, that means again positive synchronous reset circuit, clock 2 will become 0. So, see this is 1 bit, this is also 1 bit. So, here I am giving a square wave, or here I should get a square wave whose frequency is by 2, that means your time period is more, double. So, if frequency whatever time period here I am there having, so accordingly the output will be scaled. Okay. So, if you will see here, so clock 2 is equal to 0 if reset is high and positive edge of your clock pulse is there, then else if enable is high, what I am doing is I am just inverting clock 2 not up clock 2. So, just see to here for more explanation, like my reset is high initially, so and enable also 0 and clock 2 is initially 0. So, when enable is high, what is happening is I am just inverting my clock 2 here. So, initially as it is 0, then it is inverted to 1 0 1 0. So, in each, so active edge of your this clock pulse, so this 0 is inverted till this point, then after that here it is clock is not active. So, that value will be latched till this point, then again another clock is there. So, again always block will move infinitely and again 1 will become 0. So, 1 0 1 0. So, like this it will go. So, here if my time period is let us say 20 nanosecond here. So, here it is 110, 10 20. So, here it is becoming how much? 40 nanosecond. So, time period is multiplied by 2 times. So, accordingly if you will invert it, you can find that frequency is divided by 2 times. Okay. So, this is a simple example of divided by 2 counters, which can be act as a frequency divider also. Okay. So, another example we have taken, counter example, where we have taken a generalized frequency divider. So, here this counter is a 1 bit counter. So, 1 bit counter, whatever input clock frequency I am giving, in output it is coming as 1 by 2 to the power n. Means if my frequency input is, let us say this much, or let us say my clock is this. So, clock underscore 2 is equal to clock by 2 to the n, where n is the number of bit of the counter. Okay. So, now I am getting clock is equal to clock by 2. Okay. So, in similar point of view, if you want to further reduce the size of the frequency or scale down the frequency value, then you can use n number of n bits counters. Okay. So, if there are 3 bit counter, then it can further be divided at 1 by 2 to the 8. Okay. So, keeping that logic into account, so we have designed here one frequency divider, where my clock is the input and again C out is my 4 bit counter. Enable reset are the having the same usual meaning whatever we did till now. So, frequency divider where C out is 4 bit, enable clock resets are all of single bit. Okay. And C out is again register we have declared. So, in one intermediate register we are declaring which is called TCLK. That means what I want is there is a counter here, okay, whose input is clock. It also has a reset, so that it can reset the output to 0. Then whose output, so that means here I am taking one always block where input is clock with positive asynchronous reset. Okay. The output is TCLK, okay, which is the my register we have declared temporary variables, okay, which is I am taking as a 25 bit vector. So, now what is happening is, so if I will write down this by using a always block, then always at the rate of poses of clock if reset is high. So, if reset is high, my output will become 0, again it is 25. So, you have to make it 25, okay, 25 bit of 0. Then else means if reset is low, it will start counting up, like TCLK is equal to TCLK plus 1. That means in 0th bit it will give you a output of 1 by 2. In the n number of bit, it will give you output of 1 by 2 to the n. So, now what I can do is, if this can be used as a frequency divider, understood. So, that means one counter can be acted as a frequency divider. Okay. So, this example we have taken to implementing the 4 bit op counter in the FPGA. So, mostly in FPGA, most of the FPGAs in today's world available are of 50 megahertz or 100 megahertz of frequency, they are having onboard frequency. So, so if you will invert the entire sequences, that means if you want to implement this inside a FPGA, so you have to map the corresponding 4 output to 4 LEDs. So, where you can observe the sequence like 0, 1, 2, 3 in binaries. Okay. So, as the frequency of input of clock is very high, like let us say 50 megahertz, then this change in sequences in the LEDs will not be observed through our eye. Okay. So, that is why what we have to do is we have to reduce the input frequency further, okay, and that reduction in frequency will be applied to the design or module under test. Okay. So, now this counter is this is counter 1, this is you can say counter which is design under test. Okay. So, this output is 4 bit C out, this is for that I use this block. So, to this again reset is there and we may have enable also as one input, and for this the clock will be taken from here. So, I will find the clock here is clock by 2 to the power 20. If I may take a, you can see here the pauses of TCLK bracket 20 I have taken. Okay, so that means at 20th bit of the counter, the frequency is reduced by clock frequency by 2 to the n. So that if clock is my 50 megahertz, I have calculated at TCLK 20 bit, the frequency is becoming around 47.68 hertz. It is almost 50 hertz. Okay. So in this low frequency, we can able to observe the changes in the LEDs, like it's glowing from or glowing down or on or off. Okay. So now you have to take that as a clock with synchronous reset. Then depending upon the enable, C out will become C out plus 1. Okay. So now the conclusion is that, so you have to see also like TCLK we have taken a 25 bit vector. Okay. So if you will take TCLK 0, then again that frequency is almost equivalent to 50 megahertz or like that, or by 2. So if you are taking 20th bit, then it is reduced to 47.68 hertz. Okay. So that will be fed as now clock input to this counter, which is our under test counter. Okay. Understood. Then finally, if you will connect the 4 LEDs to the C out 4 whatever C out is there, then if you will implement this inside FPGA, you can observe the corresponding sequence of sequences like 0 0 0 0 0 1. So changes in LED like 0 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 1 0. So this LED change from 0 to 1, from 0 to 1, again 1 to 0, that can be observed by observing the LEDs from on to off and off to on respectively. So this is an example of a frequency divider. Apart from this, you may have different frequency counter example like decade counter, mod n counters. So in those counter conditions, you have to put in the those things I have not listed here, but in the condition of the synchronous reset always block, you have to put the condition like when the corresponding bit is matched or it is equal, the output should be equal to 0, like C out equal to 0. Okay. Accordingly, we can create decade counter or mod n counter. Like in decade counter, it will count from 0 to 9. So we can additionally add to this block, like if my output is 9, then C out will become by default 0. So in this way, when it will meet in the always block C out is 9, it will never go to the next sequence of 10. It will by default again go to 0 and it will start counting from 0 to 9 only. So those are called as decade counter. Okay. So this concludes the session on counters. Tomorrow we will see about modeling of memories.